right, welcome back to the Sci-Fi Podcast. Today we're talking about the Fantastic Four First Steps, and today I have assembled the greatest movie review podcasting minds in history, and they just so happen to be my wife, my best friend, and my brother-in-law, Joey, Tyler, and Josiah. You figure out who's who. But boys, how are we doing today?
Good, bro. Good. Don't everyone respond at once, right?
I feel fantastic.
Fantastic. I feel 4. What the heck
Out
is
of 5 or
wrong
10?
with you?
If you're fantastic, can I be 4?
Who's first? Who steps? But yeah, so the movie, which we all watched together, kind of once at least, maybe, I don't know.
Oh.
Has anyone else watched it a second time?
No, I have not. Josiah.
But you watched Superman a second time?
I did. I did watch Superman a second time.
Wow.
We should dedicate a portion of this
terrible.
to comparing it to Superman, because I do think it is an interesting conversation. Not in terms of like which one's better, but like I think there's interesting through lines between both of the movies. Like an example being the lack of an origin story. I think both of them handle very differently, and it was kind of fun to. I don't know. I watched Superman a second time immediately after watching Fantastic Four, and it was fun to kind of compare the ways that they did some of those things.
Yeah, I agree. I've watched this 3 times, which is probably 2 more times than I wanted to.
Whoa! What?
It was a lot.
Why so many?
Why so many? How?
So I had
You got money like that?
I watched it on Thursday in IMAX. The next day I watched it with you guys.
Wait, IMAX
that was like
in the ratio, or like was it like a big IMAX theater?
Who said in the ratio?
like IMAX in the ratio, so it's like
okay.
big Galactus kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then watched it with you guys, and then watched it with my little younger cousins because they wanted to watch it. So, and it was 2 times too many, and there were 3 days in a row. So, I was thinking about doing like 4 times just for the memes, but shut up, Tyler.
Watch it one more time.
But okay, before we hop into talking about the movie, I have a game that I like to play, the Letterboxd game. But basically, every movie on Letterboxd has like a tagline underneath it, and some of them are like the official taglines. Some of them are just like made up ones, like probably chosen from like some Letterboxd interns. And here are the taglines for the first 3 Fantastic movies. I put them in the chat. But 2005 is 4 times action, 4 times adventure, 4 times the fantastic. The second one is discover the secret of the surfer, and the terrible 2015 one with Michael B. Jordan is Change is Coming. So guessing game. Each of you have a guess at what the tagline is for this one. Whoever wins gets to share their opinions of this beautiful monstrosity first.
I think I got it. Like I feel like I have enough of a pulse on the branding this time around that I kind of remember a lot of the buzzwords they're using. I think it's like they'll usually start with like in a retro-futuristic 1960s world, come and see Marvel's First Family or something like that, or like
that is way
learn
too
the
long, bro.
Yeah, wait, that's not. Well, no, I don't think you understand.
Like-
It's not like the actual marketing.
yeah.
It's like the letterbox, like again, like random people will set it, or like a random letterbox intern will set it, and usually they're kind of funny.
Oh, can they be that short?
Yeah, look at the examples.
But can they be longer?
I mean, they're
It's a
not
tag-
usually. It's a tagline. All right,
Yeah,
Tyler, why don't you go
I don't
first?
know. I would probably just stick with like, see the story of
It's
Marvel's
probably
First Family.
Yeah, Marvel's First Family, or I don't know, something like that.
There were no other families before.
I think that it's
Oh gosh.
It's only 3 words. It's just say that again. That's it.
Say that again.
I hope. I hope.
Tyler, you got a guess?
I said like watch Marvel's First Family or something like that, but I don't know if it's the official. Are we trying to go for what the official one is, or just what we think the fun letterbox one is?
No, yeah, just the fun letterbox one.
Because sometimes that one is the official one, right?
The fact that there's only 3 statements is bothering.
I have no idea what the actual official one is, but okay, Joey is completely off. Josiah and Tyler are both very close. So Do you guys want to, I don't know, jump ball this, or I don't know what the phrase would be?
Wait, did you have a guess? Well, I guess you looked
Bro
at
knows
Knows
it.
what it
What?
is.
I mean,
He said he
I
hadn't
know
looked
it.
at it.
I know it.
Oh.
He did his homework.
Okay. So yeah, it is like actually really boring compared to these like terrible ones. It's just straight up Welcome to the Family, which I think I'd seen on maybe like a poster or two or something like that. But yeah, the Letterboxd intern really screwed the pooch over that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joey, since you lost, we're switching it up. What do you think about Fantastic Four, the first steps or whatever?
Well, I enjoyed it. I actually really did. So I saw the trailers. So it's very interesting. Originally, when I went into it, again, I was kind of comparing it to Superman because they were coming out around similar times, and I was actually like a really big Fantastic Four hater because I thought the marketing material made it look really bad. I was not a fan of the way that they advertised the movie. I think it didn't really like grab me. It looked like I didn't think it looked like a movie that was. It looked like a movie that was kind of saved in the edit, like previous Marvel movies. Like there didn't seem to be a lot of, I guess, like a vision to it, and it was kind of. I think it was confusing to me. But when I actually watched it, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought the characters were great, even if I don't think they necessarily like had arcs, but I really liked their. The characterization of particularly like Reed Richards and Johnny, I thought they were great. I thought Pedro Pascal did a great job, surprisingly. I wasn't convinced about the casting with him, but overall, I enjoyed it. I don't think it was nearly as good as the early reactions and reviews and like the Marvel quotes in the post-release marketing material made it out to be. But it was definitely an enjoyable time, I think.
Makes sense. Tyler, what do you think? Shatter Our World.
Personally, I was a pretty big fan of the movie. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10 on Letterboxd. It was different than what I thought it was going to be going into it. I was expecting more of a family-friendly, fun comedy, but I think it ended up being more serious than I was expecting, which isn't a bad thing. It's just different than what I was expecting going into it. Really loved, I think it gets all of the style points. I really love the production design, and I think the world that they made for the movie is pretty cool. And it feels very different from all the other Marvel projects we've gotten. They've got this fun, retro 60s vibe. And what looks like some city based off of New York City, which I thought was really cool to see on screen. So yeah, it gets all the style points for that, which is not a huge surprise considering it's the WandaVision director who I thought did a great job directing all of those episodes as well. I thought those also had just a lot of really cool visuals and things that set it apart from all the other Marvel projects. So did a great job there. And then I thought the performances were really solid as well. I think my favorite coming out of the theater was Johnny. I think that they did a good job making him more than just a one-note character like he is in some of the other Fantastic Four movies where he's just a womanizer and he's just kind of there for the comic relief. But I thought he had some good moments to shine in this movie. He got to show that he's a smart guy. He is an astronaut, and they showed that he got to why he went into space and how he's able to solve different problems. So I thought there was a lot to like with the characterization for him. Yeah, I'll save some of my other thoughts for later on. But yeah, overall, I would say I was a fan.
Joe, what do you think?
It was good. I liked it. I don't know. I don't really have revolutionary thoughts here. I feel like it was. Yeah, it was like, I think the primary point is what Tyler said that I agree with. I think this felt like a movie that was good, largely because of its world building, and that is not a bad thing. I think it was just the kind of movie it was. Like, I think I was totally fine with the characters being very iconic. Iconic in the sense of the character term, where meaning a character that doesn't experience as much change. They're more like an icon. I thought was totally fine because we didn't know them before, and there were still, I think, little tweaks that they had to make as themselves in the movie. But yeah, I think the biggest thing, once again, I mean, I think we've all said it, but I was surprised that the cast was as good as it was. I think I was just yeah, that felt better than I was. I think the cast felt safe enough that I was like, uh-oh, is this like Marvel kind of, like, I remember way back when they first announced it, and I was like, okay, like, I feel like there could have been more interesting casting, but I thought they did a great job. So I think they clearly had some kind of plan there. And it wasn't just a great job in that it was like they fit the characters, but it's like it felt like they stretched and made the characters
Stretched.
yeah, felt like they did a good job there. So the only other like tidbit that I'll mention is I really dig stories where the main villain is a force. So I was kind of already partial to liking this and being able to see Galactus on the big screen, because I think that's cool. I totally am fine with force villains that are not relatable. Like, I don't think Galactus needed to be relatable or anything, so I really liked that I feel like they did a good job kind of portraying him. I thought that was really cool. And yeah, I liked it. Not really controversial, I don't know, but
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like I like somewhat fall like in the range of the three of you. Like, I think it's pretty like it reminds me a lot of like, it felt like a Sunday or Saturday morning like cartoon episode almost of I think it's also because it's like montaged through a lot of stuff. Like, there's a montage every 10 minutes. And I feel like the movie was as good as it could have been, considering, it had like very little character arcs. And like, I feel like what I've been telling people is like, it feels like there's very little like character arcs, but the movie is not devoid of like emotion or stakes, which is like, I feel like a hard, weird kind of like area to like land in. If like your characters don't change, they don't have like a super interesting journey or like, thing there, but there is still like emotion and like interesting conceptual things going on, I think. But I think like the lack of the character arc does make it feel a little hollow to me. I also think some like the CGI,
world
like there's some like, that's true, yeah, the world changes, but it's just for like the main four characters.
yeah,
I think the CGI is like terrible in some spots and really great in
Oh,
other spots.
yeah. My favorite cast member was the
and, like,
CGI baby.
Oh my goodness, that was bad. Like, I think there's a couple times where I'm like, wow, this like, I'm supposed to be
That was
like
tough.
feeling good for like the birth of a new something, but like, you are a CGI turd made in a computer. But I think another thing that I thought was interesting is like, I feel like, unlike many Marvel movies of like past, I feel like I wouldn't like recommend this to my like casual movie going mom. Of like, I feel like it seems, I don't know, it's like a little bit more boring than other movies, like less fun. And like I enjoyed the kind of like more like dour stakes and like this impending force is coming towards us. But I'm like interested to see like how that like affects the box office, and also just like with casual audiences, like how they see like this, because I don't know, it's like Tyler said, like I was expecting more of like a fun family comedy like for all ages kind of thing, and a lot of it is like, oh no, like end of world days and we're gonna like have sad conversations like around a table. But I enjoyed that part. But yeah, overall like kind of thoughts in the movie there, all like pretty positive. So I don't know, if you haven't like watched the movie, go watch the movie, I guess, probably. But we can hop into like spoilers and like finer details of things. Anyone have like a burning take they want to start off with, or things that you would like to talk about? Go for
I
it.
do. I would. So, one of the things that I loved, and this is, I wanted to bring this up off Rip, because you mentioned about the montaging, is I loved the way that they handled the origin story of the Fantastic Four in this movie, because I think I have a little bit of a mixed opinion on like reimaginings of classic superheroes where they skip the origin story because they're like, oh, everybody knows that. I think with Spider-Man, you like, okay, like that's all right. I think with Superman, it's also okay. I think in new Superman movie, obviously they did a title crawl, but I think with Fantastic Four, I'm glad that they went back and montaged it, because I don't think that the Fantastic Four carries the same kind of, I don't know, like cultural, like it's not wasn't as big in the zeitgeist before this movie came out as a lot of other stuff is, particularly like with our generation, right? Like, I mean, I had seen some of the original Fantastic Four movies. I didn't see the 2015 one. I think given the fact there's never really been a good Fantastic Four movie in the past, like I think that's a pretty universal take. Like most people, even if they like them, don't like super love them. They didn't make a huge splash. That I think there was a risk of it being something like only the old heads really knew how the Fantastic Four got their powers and stuff. And even I think I needed a bit of a refresher. And I like how they were able to do that, but it wasn't the whole movie. And I think them kind of framing it through the talk show host at the beginning, I thought was really cool. But I do think when it's paired with the rest of the movie, with the montaging and stuff, it does get a little bit dense with just kind of going through these, like they would be minor plot points in the actual movie, but you don't really get to see a lot of like the decisions that those characters make in those scenarios. And I think that is the one, like there's like almost a trade-off to that, because I think we didn't get a lot of some of the characters' powers because it was montaged through. Particularly Mr. Fantastic, I think, was kind of left out in that regard. But I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on the whole, again, like working in the origin story and stuff.
I feel like I am happy that they skipped it and like montaged it. I think like for most of the Fantastic Four, like their most interesting storylines are like post origin. I think the only one like who has like kind of the most interesting character work with the origin is like the Thing, where it's like, oh no, like I used to be this like super cool pilot and like star like sports player or whatever, and like now I'm like ugly and no one likes me, like but we've also like seen that done in like the first like two like tries, you know, and I'm like, okay, cool, like we get it, rock, sad, you're ugly, like whatever. But I feel like a lot of like Reed's most interesting storylines and like Sue's like usually like in the origin, Sue's just kind of like there, she's like, oh, I'm there, and then Johnny's also like, I'm cool, I can be hot, you know. I think like skipping past the origin like gives most of our characters, I guess except the Thing, because like I feel like in this movie he didn't really do much, and didn't have a lot for him, and they cut out, I feel like, a lot for him. Like it gave them the space, like 4 years down the line, like 4 years of being like these celebrities, these heroes, these icons of the world. Like I think it put them in a more interesting space than like, oh, like we're discovering them for the first time. So like I agree, I enjoyed that quite a bit.
I do think though it is important to note that it was not just successful, but I think it was like, or it wasn't just adequate, but I think it was so successful because they came up with a very believable in-world way of working it in. It did not feel like, here is montage, now the movie starts. It was like, no, this is part of the movie. Like, because I really do think this is like a world building movie, right? Where like it felt totally believable, and it totally, I think, did as good of a job introducing us to them as it did the world as a whole, and kind of what are going to be the icons and the cues and things. So that was, I think, really fun. It made it fun to me. It made it not just like, oh, this is the background info, but it's like, oh, this is cool. Like, they show you that there's like a TV show about them. Like, that's fun, you know? So, yeah.
I think it shows more so how like the world sees them. I thought that was an interesting bit about them in this movie as well, is that it's not just that they're celebrities, but they're like, each of them are at such a forefront of like respective parts of the world. Like Sue being a politician, Reed being the smartest man in the world, right? And I think they did a really good job at, again, essentially like culturally and like affectionately, like the Fantastic Four have the world kind of in the palm of their hand at this point. And I think later in the movie, when we kind of have the decision of whether or not you're going to give up Franklin or whether or not they're going to keep him, and kind of how the public turns on them, regardless of how consistently that's done, I think them setting up everything, including like the origin story through this lens, I think made that a little bit more compelling.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the way, I mean, I really like the idea that the public is just in love with these characters. I think that's pretty different from the other Fantastic Four movies too. I think my favorite example of that was when all the kids see the Thing and they wanted to lift the car because they
Yeah.
think he's so cool. Like, I don't know, that was just really heartwarming, and I think it was fun to get this side of superheroes that we typically don't see. Because I feel like for the past couple of years, the public has always been, or the public in the superhero movies is always kind of iffy on, you know, like we have like things like Captain America Civil War, and it's like, oh, what do we do with these
Well,
crazy characters? And I think it was fun just to see the entire planet united around.
I
this
mean,
team for a change.
even this year with Thunderbolts, I feel like Thunderbolts is the exact. It like treats the people like the exact opposite, right? Where it's like you're having these people who are like socially looked down upon instead of these people who are like socially big influences and have to like manage that. I think is really fun.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the MCU has done a lot of like, we have like the Spider-Man where like, oh, like J. Jonah Jameson and like the media hates him or whatever. And like, I think like as audiences, like we love superheroes and like, yeah, maybe it's more realistic to be like, oh, like, can we trust these guys or whatever? But like, it's like fun to be like, there's no hatred. And I think for me, in some parts of the movie, I was like, oh, like, this feels like unrealistic. But I think it's good that it felt like a departure from like the real world. And it felt like its own distinct thing. I think that was like important. Like I think my first thought when like Sue does her little speech where she brings Franklin out and she's like, guys, you know me, you know, I had struggles too as a family or whatever. I was like, this sounds like terribly like tone deaf and bad and just like lame. But I think like the more I think about it, in the world that they created and like they set up, it works. And yeah, I know like that was like maybe from what I've read online, like some people are like, oh, that was amazing. Some people are like, that was the dumbest thing ever. A dumb speech, Sue bad. What do you guys think about like her like kind of speech to rally the troops, rally the world, and like, you know, like I'm not going to trade my son for the world, but I won't trade the world for my son. Thoughts on that?
I think the speech was less interesting than the problem, because I think the problem was like, I think it like arguably one of the most interesting parts of the movie is like they get back and then, you know, they're like, oh, how did you defeat Galactus? And then he's like, well, we didn't. They're like, you know, and he tells more, and then they're like, you did
Not
what?
yet.
Like, I think that's like such an interesting. I mean, I think that is one of the good creative decisions they make because it acknowledges kind of the characters they have set up and really the world being, I think, another character in the story. But I thought that was more interesting than the speech. But I did think the speech was fine. Like I think it was. I'm glad there was like, it was considered a problem and the characters had to address it. I think that was really interesting, and like seeing how it worked out maybe didn't yield the maximum amount of like pressure that they could have drawn from it. But I also don't think it's necessarily fully that movie. You know, it's not fully a movie where these characters are managing their public opinion after, you know, the space mission. So.
I think I would also agree that I think I'm more on the camp that I thought that scene was one of the lower points of the movie. To me, I think up until this point, I thought they had done a good job of showing the Fantastic Four kind of like realistically addressing the public. Like there's reporters, they have like their podium and stuff. This to me, I don't know if it was like the direction or like the set or like how they had everyone positioned. It just felt a little like, I'm trying to think of how to explain it. Like this scene particularly to me felt like a little bit poorly directed. I think like you have Sue who's in a crowd of people who just like kind of addressing them as like the entire world and stuff. And I think I would have liked to have seen this be a little bit more of a, I don't know, like a professionally done scene. I know like part of it is that Sue is trying to give like a personal statement and stuff and like kind of being vulnerable in that moment. But I think I didn't buy that like her addressing this like little crowd, and I just didn't buy that was a message that was going to resonate with the entire planet and all of a sudden they'd be kind of like back on their side again. I felt like it was a little bit loose, but I did think there were parts of it that were okay, and I couldn't go into like wording specifically because I don't really remember what she says, but I remember at the time of listening to it, I thought that there were parts of it that were good, where like she appeals to the fact that like, hey, like you guys have loved us and trusted in us for this long, like what, like trust in us again. But then there were other parts of that were just like, again, I wouldn't buy that it would unite the entire planet behind them. I think, but it's also not that kind of movie, you know, like it's not Batman versus Superman where like somebody who's doing good is like a symbol of controversy and that's the whole point of the movie. It's kind of just like,
or even like this year's Superman, right?
Or even
like,
well, I mean, I would kind of argue that him being a symbol of controversy is part of that movie.
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
I think they
weren't throwing stuff at her.
Yeah,
right?
well, it was
yeah.
almost she almost solved the problem too easily.
Yes.
I guess that's what I'm saying. It's like I think it was a poorly directed scene. I think it didn't have the impact that it was supposed to have, and it also like it was too easy for them to kind of like quell the criticism. I would have wished that it was more of like a progressive thing, like they earned the public's trust back, or they earned the trust back by finally like defeating Galactus. It just felt like there could have been more drama.
Yeah. Okay. Like as like Josiah said that like of like no one's throwing stuff at her. I don't. Okay. In a weird way, I feel like this scene would be better if like someone did throw something at her, because I think like the thing is like, which sounds weird, like throw bottle at women and child, but like the idea that obviously like they see the Fantastic Four as gods and whatever, and like, oh, like these are people who have saved us all the time, like for the last 4 years. But I feel like what this scene missed was like the, like Joey was saying, like that like vulnerable connection. Like I think on paper it was there, like, oh, like she's being vulnerable and she's like bringing her baby out or whatever. But like I think she says like one of the lines is like, oh, like you know me and like we get to be a part of something bigger than ourselves and like we have you as a family or something. And like I think that's something that like rang hollow to me of like it doesn't feel like,
oh yeah, I thought that
like the world has been a family to like the Fantastic Four, right? And I think I don't know, maybe like a moment of vulnerability, like she's like out there and like obviously she can like force field at any time, but like maybe like someone throws like a can at her and like she like willingly just like doesn't shield and is like takes, and I think like at some point like there needs to be like some level of like accountability of like, not accountability, maybe that's the wrong word, but like acknowledgement that like they like have failed and they're also like putting the public in like a tough situation, because like for the public to like trust them is like difficult in that moment as well, even if like they really need them to trust them. And like I agree, I feel like it didn't like intellectually I was like, I guess this makes sense and it clicks and it works, but like I wasn't feeling it. And I think this is one of like the ways where it feels like a comic book, because like this is like definitely it feels like a handful of panels where it's like, oh yeah, like, oh, character goes monologues at the people and like everyone's like, yay, cool. I feel like this movie did that a couple of times where like I think I can understand the like, oh, they're telling not showing kind of accusations or whatever, because they do that a lot. They like just like talk at you a lot, which I enjoyed. I feel like one of my favorite scenes was Pedro, like Reed in the lab at night with the baby.
Yeah, that's my favorite scene as well.
Franklin, and he's just talking to him. He's like, yo, like the more I look into it and the more I know, the more scared I get, and like I'm just gonna stop looking. And like I've like read a handful of Fantastic Four comics, and like there's like a couple in the Jonathan Hickman run where like that issue ends with like Reed doing just that. And like when that scene came up, it was like really, I think, well done. Like I don't know, like Pedro Pascal like added like a nice warmth to it. I was like, I like this. This is good. This is where like I feel like comic book being adapted in like a sincere, like goofy but like just like fun way was good. So yeah, I don't know, like that kind of moves away from the suit thing, but yeah.
I would agree in that. I think one of the big things I liked about this movie is I think I was just honestly more interested at how the characters interfaced with the world than I did anything else. Like I think that was like the most interesting thing to me. So like seeing those kind of moments where it's just like them and how they react to stuff, even if it is verbal, like I think that's just interesting to me and was things I liked a lot because it made them feel kind of real in a weird way. The other illustration I have is like, that's why I feel like I liked the lack of them using their powers for action, and also liked the amount that they use their powers for random stuff. Like that felt very in tune to me, where I was like, yeah, I'm more interested at just seeing how these characters go about living than I am, and how they go about navigating like their lives as opposed to them in essentially just an action scene that you could kind of change the characters out of and it would function the same. Just because I think I'm realizing Marvel's like not great at action. I think there are times that are great at action. I just don't think like I don't go to a Marvel movie to see action, right? And so, yeah, like I go because I think it's part of it, but it's like it's not like I'm waiting for the third act big creature fight, like, you know.
Yeah, I think in some ways like it reminds me of maybe like some of the early like origin stories of Phase 1 and Phase 2, where like maybe like the movie's not like perfect and good, but like I like the characters enough and like so much that I want to see them again, and like that's what carries through. Like maybe not like a solid cohesive like this film is like great and amazing. It's like, oh, I want to see them in like the next thing, and I'm excited to see them pop up in the whatever. And I think like that's important for like forward momentum. But also like I don't like know how much like runway that like this Fantastic Four is going to get. Like hopefully a lot, but like I think one of the first things I thought when coming out of the movie, I was like, man, in that first montage, there's probably like 3 prequel movies that would be pretty dope to watch. Like I feel like if there's like a fun comedy like action movie like when they like defeat Mole Man or something, like that would be like a super just like fun middle Phase 2 like goofy Ant-Man 1 type vibe of just like fun movie, and like I want to see more of those. And like I know at some point like the Fantastic Four are gonna get folded into like the main MCU streamlined universe, and I feel like I'm less excited for that. I'm like I kind of want to stay in this world more, you know, like they've crafted this like cool futuristic like just distinct thing, and like I'm like almost sad in some ways that like that's all we're gonna get from them, you know.
I would say if it left you wanting more, then I would say that montage did its job just fine then. I don't think it's a huge detriment, the fact that we didn't get to see this other cool stuff. I think the fact that more stuff is hinted to is totally acceptable, and, you know, it would have been nice, but at the same time, I don't think I'm that bummed that we didn't get, you know, another movie or something like that there.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. I think the concern about runway with the characters is interesting just because, like, we know Secret Wars is coming up, and we know that I think it's I think it's pretty common knowledge, or at least like most people kind of see that that'll be somewhat of like a soft reboot for the MCU in a lot of ways, and them kind of like going back to the beginning with like all of the pieces now that they've kind of assembled like X-Men, they have Fantastic Four, all of that. And I almost wonder, like, I think about how that's still a few years away, and I don't think we'll get another Fantastic Four movie unless I don't know something. I don't think we'll get a Fantastic Four movie until like after that. And
Probably
I don't
not.
know, it's like how much more mileage are we going to get out of this cast before we actually just like we get a new recast? Like, will that be in Secret Wars, right? Like, do we stay attached to these characters? Like, they were really great, but I think it's a similar thing with the original like X-Men, how they're folding them into Doomsday. Like, it's very clear that they're not going to be persisting past those movies. So the fact that like Fantastic Four takes place in its own universe, to me, I think it raises questions to whether or not like we're going to stick with this version of the Fantastic Four, especially since we've seen other multiversal like variants of them. Like, we saw John Krasinski already. So it's like, is this going to be a cool thing for Secret Wars, and then we go back to the drawing board later? I think that would be like my main question with longevity.
Kind of talking about like the cast and like if we'll see them again, like moving on to like the performances in the main four, like who were your guys' like favorites, least favorite, like rank the four in terms of performance and in terms of characterization?
I can start. I already said Johnny was my favorite. So here we go. Johnny 1, I think I would have loved to have seen more of the Thing. So it's tough to place him because it feels like there was so much of his stuff that got left on the cutting room floor. There's his whole romance side plot that gets all of 2 scenes, and, you know, it's unclear if that went anywhere. Maybe there's probably is more that they shot that just didn't have time to make into the movie, which is unfortunate. But I really liked the way that they portrayed him. There's also like a warmth to the Thing that I liked as well, that, you know, he's this tough guy, but, you know, he's a big softie who's always, you know, literally carrying his friends out of danger. So I thought that was cool. So I'd probably put him second, even though I wish we could have seen more. And then Yeah, Reed is 3 and Sue is 4, but I don't think there's any bad performances in this movie. I think that they're all pretty solid.
I think that I liked Johnny the most. I think he's very close with Reed. Reed is a close second. I think, especially in terms of performance, I think I had Reed's character and like the utilization of him and like action and just like his powers, I think left some to be desired. I think he was very much, he wasn't done dirty, but like I think he was definitely at a disservice compared to a lot of these other characters in that we didn't really see him do all that cool stuff, I don't think. I also think I ranked the Thing as number 3 and Sue as number 4. I think the Thing we didn't see much of, like Tyler said. I think the reason why I would rank Sue the lowest is because I had some... I think it was less the performance and more that as a character, I think there were some questions about some of her choices. I think there's some things to be said about how I think the argument between her and Mr. Fantastic on whether or not to give up Franklin, I think some of the ways that they portrayed her reacting to that was like maybe realistic to somebody caught up in like the emotion of the situation, but I think that she was like some of her choices and some of the how quickly she was to kind of write off considerations in that regard kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, and I think that kind of sabotaged her for me. But
I don't think I would rank the performances because I don't know why I would.
Because Matthew asked you to.
No, but I don't know. I feel like it's not
just likes to be contrary.
No, it's like because they're not comparative. Like I feel like they're no way competing with each other. Although I will say, I think my favorite performance was, or out of the 4, I think my favorite performance was Pedro, just because I was like absolutely thrilled to see Disney execs not give him the same character. Like I thought he like, I don't know. I think I sometimes forget that Pedro Pascal is like a legitimately like good actor because of like
it's true,
because they keep putting him in like these same characters, which I also do think is really funny with how the movie like ended. That like someone made the joke of like the exec like reads like almost the whole way through and is like, I know who we have to cast, and then like
because he's a single dad at one point.
Yeah, it's like oh well, it has to be Pedro Pascal. But all that aside, I think he really was a great Reed Richards for me. I think it was like super believable, and yeah. But even though not main 4, I think Silver Surfer was terrific.
Oh yeah,
she was. Yeah, like with obviously like limited performance capabilities, I think her scene with Johnny was like so like good that it just it was like I was very impressed that they didn't, or I guess I was impressed that they would do a deep dive into a character like that. Like that just doesn't really feel like something, I don't know, that I've seen in one of these movies. It feels like in one of these movies they're quick to abstract the character, right? To just be some kind of villain, you know? But I was impressed that it was like, oh no, this is a good scene.
Her action too. I thought like her pursuing them when they were trying to escape Galactus. I mean, that whole sequence I think is the best sequence in the movie, like easily, like not even close. But some of the stuff when she was like surfing on lava and stuff, and she was chasing them through their like FTL travel, I thought that was
cool. That was really cool.
Pretty sick. Also, shout out the FTL travel CGI for being like actually pretty good.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I think Galactus was good. I think was it? I forget his name. I had looked it up.
Ralph
I thought he was
Ralph
good.
Ineson?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought he was great. My hot take, going back to Joey's point, I thought we saw a perfectly good amount of Mr. Fantastic's powers because for a long time I have believed, and I still do, that Mr. Fantastic's powers do not adapt well to photorealistic like action. I think they like look weird. And my backup, my like support argument for that is that when they did the same when they did this with Miss Marvel, who's like arguably has very, very similar powers, they had to make it all energy based so it wouldn't look weird. So I think I don't know. I thought it was like they used his power. Like I guess maybe a better way of saying it,
because that is a little bit of a misrepresentation of the Miss Marvel thing. Because they made her powers different because they were going to do the Fantastic Four, not because of like the CGI.
Yeah, but I don't know the order of those decisions being made. But I guess maybe the better way I would say it is I was glad that all of the uses of Reed's powers felt good to me. It didn't feel like there was weird ones, which I was really concerned about because it gets close. Like, I think if you see some of the scenes where he's hopping around and you can tell it's just, there's no actual Pedro Pascal there. It's like a little, but I was impressed. So maybe a better way is just it didn't spoil my fear that they were going to like look really weird, but yeah.
Yeah, I think going back to like the characters, and we'll talk more about Silver Surfer and Galactus too. I thought like in comparison to the other movies, like I feel like their characterization was like just so much more. I'm not saying that it's like overly nuanced and super like rich and deep, but like just like so much more so than like the previous ones. Because I don't know, like I think you can really just like easily fall into Johnny's hot and impulsive. Sue is just hot. Reed is like smart and like
smart and stretchy.
Yeah, he's smart, I guess. And then the thing is like he's big rock, yeah. But like I enjoyed how like they made each of them
Group
like
leader.
Intelligent.
Yeah, they're all astronauts. They should all be smart.
Exactly. Like Johnny was smart.
Yeah, Johnny could.
Which is like he's supposed to be an astronaut, so he's supposed to be smart, right? And like I think to me it seemed like they were trying to make like Reed like some sort of like autistic guy in some way. Like I think that line where he says like there's always been something wrong with me, like I've known it, but like there's something about me that I can't change. I don't remember. It feels like there was some kind of something there that I like
relatable,
that I enjoyed. I was like, yeah, I don't know, like that's me for real. I could be like him one day. But
could be.
Could be. Well, who's gonna tell him?
I enjoyed that. I thought Vanessa Kirby was the worst of the four. Not that she's bad, but I think like the writing plus I think other actresses probably could have done it better. Especially in like in the moments where like in the arguments with Reed, and then also in that speech. I think you can probably get away with like that writing if you're just like super charismatic or warm or just kind of like in like writing, and maybe like Vanessa Kirby didn't have that as much. And I think I said this when I came out of the theater, but like I know like the original cast that was rumored was Adam Driver, Margot Robbie, Paul Mescal, and David Diggs, and I feel like I want all three or all four of them from this movie except for Vanessa Kirby. Like I think I would trade Margot Robbie for Vanessa Kirby pretty quickly.
I don't think I would have been able to take Barbie seriously.
I think I think I've got it down because I generally agree. I think Vanessa Kirby's obviously an incredible actor, but I feel like she was not directed to be maternal enough in that, like, I think there was a certain point where it felt like she was, like, her arguments with Reed felt very personal and less, like, familial, like, less, like, her kind of keeping the family together and more her arguing with Reed, which I do get because there's the added complication of kind of the four of them are a family, or I guess the five at that point. But there's something there where I don't know. It feels hard to point fingers because it's like I don't know if it was the director, the writer, her, something. But I would definitely be excited to see her in future movies though. Like I feel like she definitely is like a pick that I'm excited to see what they give her. But
I think I would be interested to ask you guys, since we're kind of on the subject, what you guys thought about like the whole Reed and Sue argument that they were having, because I think I understand the way that it was portrayed. It was like Sue's the mother. She's like, how could you even consider like giving up our child, kind of thing. But I don't know. To me, like, obviously it wasn't going to be a movie where that was something that they like really seriously entertained. But I feel like as like earthly protectors and stuff, I think the fact that they totally discounted the possibility of, you know, like the trading one life for the sake of like everyone's life. Like, do I think that's morally correct? Not necessarily, but I think, again, like all the arguments that were against that and were kind of coming from Sue, I forget which one of you guys said it, did feel like very personal, and we're kind of just like you're a terrible person, how could you think that, like why are you always like this, Reed, like nobody likes you, kind of thing, you know. Like I dude, when she said that was crazy. But I don't know, I think you guys get what I'm kind of meaning. I felt like that argument was kind of weird because like Reed was very clearly like not actually gonna do it, but he was like, yeah, like obviously I thought about it because that was the only other option that we had.
It feels tough because it also feels like in that argument, if one of your characters is like literally the smartest man alive, he's obviously going to be the more interesting side of the argument. Not in that he's right, but in that like his side of the argument is going to be more interesting because like as the viewer, that is like weird, right? It's like weird to think like, oh, this guy like he can't not think about it. That's like literally his thing, right? Like,
but I feel like Sue, like to that point, like Sue, they could have also portrayed Sue as like a little bit more understanding, or like I just feel like she wasn't. To me, it was frustrating because it was like it's not that he's the smartest man in the world. It's like you're not thinking, like you're not locked in like him, like you're I don't know, like
moment.
Well, I think it's also tough because like. Not to. I feel like we're like snowballing now.
Yeah,
but to add to it, the fact that she's like the politician, right?
Yeah,
so, like,
right. Exactly.
Like yeah.
I
think the one actual meaningful criticism I have here is I think this is honestly just could be my first watch.
Everything else that you said before, Joey, was not meaningful criticism. Sorry.
No. It was more just like I think the functional criticism, I'll say, is I was confused at one point when I guess she said it was okay to use Franklin as bait, but I guess I misheard that because I guess I thought, you know, like when it gets down to the final thing, right? And it's like, oh, we're gonna have this tower, we have to get Galactus there, and the only way to do it is with Franklin as bait.
Mm-hmm.
And like I thought she was like, don't think of that, and then Reed's like, we gotta, and then she's like, and then Reed's like, no, this is not how it happened. Then Reed's like, no, I would never, and she's like, you gotta. And I was like, wait, what happened? Like
where was the change?
That
well, her plan was, I mean, because Johnny takes him away, right? So Johnny's never, Franklin is never there when Galactus.
Which you're totally right. I think it was just I misunderstood something about that, confused me as the viewer, and I was like, I don't really know what's going on right now, but we'll see, like, because the next scene or whatever. But that's my actual like tangible criticism of like that actually did confuse me in the movie, and yeah,
I agree. I think like they made Sue's side feel maybe like less well argued because I can't blame them because I think it's a lot easier to posit the idea that ayo maybe we don't kill baby than it is to like kind of show Reed's side, because I feel like most people like don't think like Reed, and I thought like especially with him talking about like the Archimedes equation and the levers and stuff, like he sees things as like equations and constants, right? And like if the constant is like, yo, like I can't let this baby die, but I also can't let this world die, like seeing him like sift through those options, like I feel like that like made sense, and like I think that's like to the praise of the movie of like, yo, like I started to like understand how he thought, and maybe that's to the detriment of like Sue's argument and Sue's character in a way, because you're just like, bro, woman, just like chill out, bro, he's like trying to save the world, you know. I think like the thing that like I found the most just like shocking or like just like weird, and this is an editing thing, I think, like after their second argument where they're all in the lab together and like Sue like realizes that like Reed thinks like the only way is to like use Franklin as a bait, and like Johnny's like stupid, he's like, what's going on, and she's like, I know, and then she like disappears into the like whatever. The thing that like I just like hate the most is like the kind of like falling action resolution of that. They immediately cut to like outside, it's snowing, and she's like rocking the like.
Oh, I hated that cut. That was
thing.
really, yeah,
and like
that was a
she's like smiling almost, and I'm like my first thought, I remember I was like, are we in a dream sequence? I was like, what is going on? Why is it snowing outside? And then like she's like, I used to think that this was the most beautiful thing that we made, and like Pedro Pascal like nuzzles up to her and he's like, it still can. And then like it cuts to the next scene and I'm like, what is going on? I feel like from
yeah, we
to,
missed
like,
a few.
I know like I'm gonna have to
yeah.
like sacrifice my kid to like, like I'm okay with like using him as a bait, maybe kind of like we gotta have like some kind of like conversation there, some kind of like like her calming down, or like her like kind of coming to like a compromise or like an understanding, or just kind of like, like shoot, we're gonna have to do this. And then I was like, I think that's where the editing was the worst in the movie to me, of like, like you lost a lot of the momentum of like this kind of like emotional thing you're taking us on. I think that's what like I was most frustrated with, like, what is going on here?
On that note, something I was thinking, well, not on the editing note, on the actual argument, like the not the argument, but I guess the moral dilemma, something that I almost wonder if this movie would be better off with, which I really like this movie, so I have a hard time saying it would be better, but I do think it would be interesting, is if they showed another viewpoint outside of the family. I think that would really help the world feel real, like, and feel full. And pragmatically what I mean is that when there's a movie that follows a group of people doing something really hard, right, especially if there's distance, I love cutting to the people on Earth, on the ground, who are like your pulse of like, what is exactly happening here. So seeing like a character that we know that is not this family that could fly away have to grapple with the fact of what Galactus said would be really interesting. Or having a family that, or not having characters that had to understand politically the idea that like the Fantastic Four could have given up Franklin to Galactus and it would have been over. Like having another viewpoint, I think, could have helped make a lot of those points feel a lot weightier. The like two examples I have off the top of my head is like, one of the reasons I love The Martian as a movie is The Martian does this so well. Like The Martian's like on the ground stuff is just as interesting as the stuff on Mars, right? That's like a good example. I think another actually weird example is Final Reckoning, like the last Mission Impossible, because I thought everything in the like President's Suite was like way more interesting than it should have been. Like I did not go into that movie wanting to see that movie, but I left being like, that was cool. Like those scenes were really effective in making me realize how big of a threat this was. Which like I think that's kind of that's the point, right? Is I think that would have been interesting to have in this movie. But I also, I respect this is a sub 2 hour movie. It's fun. It's light. I don't know. It is a thought I had though, and just that I think what made me think about this is in the argument sense, it would have been interesting if there was, what if there was that hook for Sue to have to appease those people on the ground, right? She had that weight of the politics, not just a pulpit, right? I don't know, just some of my thinking there, but yeah, I don't know if how that resonates with you guys, or that can also just be a thought that's done and we don't have to talk about it. So
I really like the idea. I think that I don't know. I think the thing I mostly wanted to just voice agreement with what you were saying, Matthew, and that like the editing in that portion of the movie was like pretty atrocious, and I think it says something larger to. There was just in general, like a lot of this movie was cut out. I immediately walked out and was like, this seems like a movie that was saved in post. I feel like they just filmed so much. This could have been like a Amazing Spider-Man 2 situation where like they just didn't cut anything out and like it just goes on way too long. And I think, who knows, like maybe that was a thing, like what Josiah was saying, is because we did have on the ground characters. Like they had a publicist who was a character that got like scenes. And to me, and like even Ben's love interest, right? Like we got little bits of that. And to me, like, those would have been avenues to have a character like that. Particularly Ben's love interest,
Yeah.
I think would have been interesting.
That one scene with where he visits her
Yeah.
felt like the closest thing to that.
Right, but then they just didn't have enough runtime. And I guess, like, my whole... I don't know if it's my biggest complaint, but I think my biggest structural complaint, like the most all-encompassing thing, is that I surprisingly just think, like, this movie needed a little more time. Like, I think they almost cut too much out, like it was almost too quick. It's not, I don't even think it's the fault of the montage at the beginning. I just think, like, later in the movie, we didn't get a lot of time for these things to breathe. And, like, I think you can, like, your brain can fill in the gaps of how people got to where they got to, but they didn't, I think the movie almost didn't show you how people came to the revelations that they came to. I think, to me, the whole, like, Reed's equation that he has in his head, where it's like, I can't give up the kid, but I can't let the world die, right? Like, that is clearly his entire mentality throughout the movie. But then when Sue, like, goes out and says essentially the same thing, there's not really any, like, the movie doesn't pay any mind to the fact that, like, their motivations or, like, their perspectives are now, like, aligned, right? We just kind of, like, go from there. We hit the montage. They're starting to build teleporters around the world, which I'm going to throw it in there. I think, like, there was a little crazy suspension of disbelief on that, right? Like, why didn't you try to teleport Galactus before teleporting the entire planet? Anyways, I feel like there was an order in which they would have normally, you know. But yeah, all this has to say is I think the montage kept it brief. It kept, like, the brevity of the entire movie, but we lost out on some of those things that really fleshed out the movie. Like, there's a lot of good world building, but, like, there was no real supporting cast, I don't think, to this movie. And that's, like, a big Marvel... I think the last few Marvel movies have had that issue, is that, like, we don't have those supporting cast characters anymore, like those iconic, like, Happy Hogans, like, those Phil Coulsons, those, like, all those things. And, like, there were little bits with, like, the publicist. Again, like, I want to bring her up. Like, there were jokes and stuff. And I think people like her and Ben's significant other could have been, like, avenues in ways that they could have done that.
And I have to wonder if they left in more of the I don't know, whatever else they had. I wonder if the pace is what helped suspend my disbelief of all of the stuff that needed to happen happened. Because it feels like there's a bazillion movies here, right? Or, like, this would have been, like, talk about an epic, like, mini-series, like a 10-episode. Like, there's so many interesting hurdles that needed to be solved, which I think are cool. It's just, like, I guess without leaving your audience trying to fall down every rabbit hole, you know, maybe they tried to use pace to do it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think the sobering, like, post-movie clarity on the teleporting the planet to a different solar system with, like, everyone on it, and, like, that was just going to be totally fine.
Yeah, they probably all would have died. But
Yeah, they probably would have immediately frozen, or, like, their planet would have orbited and crashed into another one or something. Like, just teleport the big guy.
I also think it's funny because, like, when we see, like, the test of, like, the egg thing, like, you need one teleporter here and another teleporter here on the other end to, like, switch them. But, like, we have, like, 700 teleporters on Earth and nothing on the deep end of space. So I guess, like, I don't know. It's a don't think about it too much kind of thing, I feel like.
Yeah, how do we go from egg to planet to, like...
just need more power.
It's only magnitude. I was like, bro, what? Like, there's, like, living things on this planet. Like, yeah. But Joey kind of talking about editing made me think, like, because I think my biggest problem is, like, lack of character arc maybe. But it feels like I think that what was originally there was, like, Reed is afraid of space. And I think if Reed is afraid of space, it makes things a lot more interesting. Because, like, he, like, especially because I think over and over again this movie, he's like, we have to go into the unknown, or, like, I don't know anything. I don't have any place to stand. Give me a place to stand and I'll move heaven and earth. Like, I just need to know something. Like, I can't not know something. And, like, I think it seemed to me, this is also, like, watching it 3 times, like, and the third time I was like, I'm bored of this movie. I'm just going to try to, like, pick this apart. So, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid. But, like, it seemed like, he obviously he had like remorse and like he was guilty because like his friends got like uglied, and his wife got like cool powers or whatever. But like he was like sad that like he failed and like he messed up because like he miscalculated or whatever. And like because he didn't know fully like what was like there in space, like he wasn't able to best prepare, right? So like I like the idea that like, okay, in the 4 years that they've been the Fantastic Four, since those 4 years, like they have not gone to space, but like Reed has conquered every knowable like problem here on Earth, like with Sue and the politician stuff and everything like that. But like he does not dare go back to space because that means like he has to go into the unknown where he is not in control, right? And like when Johnny comes in for the 215, which in the beginning I was like confused at the 215 thing, like I feel like there's some editing weird things there too. Like it seems like Johnny like just he was an astronaut, like he worked his whole life to be an astronaut, and like Reed doesn't want to like let him go. And like obviously when we realize that like the Excelsior launch has to go, like he like quickly gets like those suits, like he had those suits like already designed or whatever, but obviously he didn't like want to make them go up there, right? And so I think the idea, like if he's afraid of space and the unknown, and like you like kind of couple that with like that conversation that he has with Franklin in the lab of like, oh, like I'm scared and I don't want like being scared, but like I'm just not gonna question more, I'm not gonna look more. I think there's like an arc there of like, oh, either him like learn to let go of control, or him learning to trust in not just like himself but other people, or like be like amazed or in wonder, or like kind of like defer to things that are bigger and just more powerful than him, like a force than him. Like he tried everything. I also think like at the end, like when he's like doing his CPR thing on like Vanessa Kirby for about like 7 minutes, because like they dragged that thing out. I was like, oh man, she's dead because like he's gone through I'm CPR certified, so like he went through like the 5 repetition. She's gone. Like I feel like maybe there's like a time where you can like, or like a way you could be like, oh, like he like gets all like Herbie over, he gets all his like inventions, and he tries like, oh, this thing and that thing to like revive her, and like nothing works, but like this thing that he doesn't understand, Franklin like puts his like paws on her or like hands on her and like does the purple glowy eye thing and like brings her back to life. And like I think that like could be a cool like arc of like humbling, and also like setting him up to like, I don't know, be like even crazier mad scientist who like needs to know everything, or like something like that. Like I feel like there's just, it felt like there's a lot of that Reed who is scared of control and not knowing things that was missing. And I feel like that could have changed a lot of things. I don't know, that was like my little rant for, I don't know, after while I was watching it for the 3rd time. But yeah, I don't know, thoughts, I guess. I was just kind of like pulled out of my butt.
I agree. I agree with everything that you said. I think that I didn't pick up on him being afraid of space, but the whole like him being afraid of the unknown and him sticking to what he knows. I would have loved if they did a character arc. It would be like him learning to kind of like be curious and like wonder again, and like actually want to go out of his comfort zone. And like the entire start of the movie, right, they became superheroes because they went into the unknown, and that was like his passion, the thing that he wanted to do. But after this traumatic event, he doesn't want to do it anymore. And so like the entire movie would be him, like in my perfect world, if they were to make like Reed maybe not a definitive protagonist, but they give him like a more substantial development. I would have loved to see him kind of rediscover that part of himself. I thought that would have been a really good central struggle. That seemed kind of like what they were trying to do at a certain point. And I think they just didn't actually develop that theme throughout. It was thrown out there, his remorse, but they didn't really address it. Like there wasn't a definitive resolution to that. Like I'm no longer sorry. There was no I'm no longer afraid.
I can see it now
moment.
almost like too, and like the public react. Oh, tough. Unfortunate. Sorry, keep going.
Wait, you kind of lagged a little bit. What'd you say?
Oh my. Okay, what I said was like I agree. I like that. Like I could see it now. Like the idea that like, oh, the whole public, they see him as like this forefront like forerunner of like every space and intellectual thing, and like they can be like, oh, like Mr. Fantastic, you're like so smart, you're our like trailblazer and this and that, and like him in his own heart, because he's scared of like space and doesn't want to like wonder, like scared of the unknown. Like he knows like, oh, like I'm a fraud, because like even though like I look like in comparison to like the public, I'm like this super smart guy who's willing to take chances. Like he knows in his own heart and his own capabilities that like he's not there. Like I could see that like working very well with the framework of like, oh, public perception and how that plays into like what they think about themselves. But that was all I was gonna say. But
I wish they would have dove more into the fact that he's a parent now, because I think that's one of the greatest unknowns that someone can go through. It's this life that you created that is a blank slate, and you don't know what's exactly is going to come to this kid. And I wish that there was, we do get that one moment with him talking to the baby, but I think it would have been I think it would have been interesting to have seen his struggle as a parent now that he's got this kid that's not a problem he can control. It's different than any other problem that he's ever tried to face in his engineering life. And I think that there could have been more opportunity to go deeper into that specific relationship that I think would have made that fear of the unknown for him. I think that could have come out more and in a more interesting way.
It's almost like they wrote themselves into an interesting, not corner, but like with the movie they wanted to make. I don't know where that fits, but I would love, or I guess I don't know where my idea fits, but I would love it if they did like a very fun kind of humorous section that is like 3 to 5 minutes of just how bad of a parent he is.
Yeah.
like very much like Incredibles 2. Like he's doing all these things backwards and kind of weirdly, and sort of like the writing term of like fun and games, right? Like it's like a nice little breather it would be like a breather right after they reveal to the world that, oh yeah, by the way, we didn't bargain with Galactus. But then I don't know if that fits there. Like, I don't know if that just totally cuts the tone. But I do think it'd be fun.
It's almost like a good idea for if this wasn't sandwiched where it is in the Marvel timeline, like, where they have to be in other movies. Like, I think it could have been in, like, the beginning opener of, like, a sequel to this one.
Yeah.
I think that would have been, a decent inciting incident. Or just, I don't know, like, build up to whatever the struggle of the movie is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the thought that we're not going to get that, because Doom has Franklin now, and which was like, I don't know, I think everyone went into this movie knowing that we were going to see Doctor Doom in the end credit scene, and kind of, like, if you know about Franklin, like, you knew that he was going to be, like, the guy for this whole thing. So I don't think that was the reveal that they thought it was going to be. But I agree. I think it would be hard to fit it into this one,
I wish the Doom reveal was different. Like
I do too.
I think I was fine. I just think they could have done it in a much more like old school Marvel way, like where they.
Okay. How would you rewrite the post-credit scene?
Okay, I don't remember. I've definitely told some of you about this, but I think my ideal is like after it's like they still do the same thing, like 3 or however many years later. And it's like Sue at Future Foundation giving a talk, and like you finally see the Latvian like consulate there.
I thought they were gonna do that
time because it felt like they set it up.
Yeah. I was bummed.
That even feels like a thing that they very well could have shot that and like
I
made that,
thought
and it was just like that
was such a
because
layup
of
for
where Doom or Doomsday is right now. It doesn't fit, but like, oh man, if I see Robert Downey Jr. sit down in that like Latvian like chair, I think everyone would have just gone berserk. Like it would have just been crazy.
Because it does almost it would have made more sense as like a reveal for them to have revealed. I feel like revealing RDJ as like Vincent Vaughn Doom, not like Doctor Doom at the end, and then left like whatever shenaniganery he's gonna do in Doomsday to Doomsday. You know what I mean?
The issue is just timing. Like because I don't know if how they currently have it timed. I feel like we don't yet know.
Is it? Oh, is it Victor?
Joey saying Vincent Vaughn Doom.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
I love that. Like, because I don't know.
Sorry, continue.
I feel like there's a lot of ideas that people have about is Doom always RDJ, or is like how does that work? Like,
do you like steal his face?
Yeah, like what it. Because I think that
is he from this universe?
I think it's possible they didn't know that when they were writing this movie, so they were just like, we just won't show his face.
Give him the mask.
We'll leave it as open-ended as possible, and then we'll figure
That's
it out
true.
in Doomsday.
Yeah, that's true.
Think, the fact that the next baddie of the next Avengers movie was, only shows up, the movie before, I think is a sign that they're not going on top of the plan.
Exactly. Well, like I don't know if you guys had thoughts on this. I thought his suit was interesting too. Like it was more like classic than I expected it to be. You know what I mean? I don't know. It was like very like old school tacky comic book, which I thought was funny. But I know me and Josiah talked about that.
It definitely looked like I could cosplay that really easily.
Yeah,
I
like
just get like a green blanket and then.
Yeah, almost to its detriment. I don't know. I get that it was like probably hastily thrown together, but it was a little. That was interesting.
Yeah, it might not even be the final costume.
I doubt it is. But
Yeah. Do you guys think Doomsday is gonna be good?
I really hope it is.
I hope it is. Yeah,
I'm
let's
trying to
leave
keep
it
my
there.
expectations low.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be bad, guys.
Yeah.
I
In a
think
way.
I think there's a way it's good because Marvel always gets like a quality bump when they have multiple people like in the movie for some reason. I feel like
I think it will be decent.
I think though if we open and it is like this is the Doctor Doom protagonist movie, then it's probably incredible. If it's like
whoa,
if
that
it,
would
like,
be peak. What the
if
heck?
it like opens and it's like, well, I feel like that's what people isn't
that
that like
makes
what
wait,
people
but
think
that
it
does
is?
make sense because like everyone's complaining about it being so overstuffed and stuff.
Yeah, no, if
they're
it-
just like obstacles.
If it's just like this is his journey to Battleworld, it's good.
Oh!
Like it's good. Like,
Okay.
but if it opens and it's like it's not that. If it opens and it's like
if you see Sam's Captain America in the first,
yeah, it's like we
out of here. Sorry, Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, like if they I don't know or if they yeah they're gonna have to balance it. I think it's possible though. I think if it's like this is Doom's like walk to work, it's gonna be good. But I don't know.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think like all of the people, like all of the characters that we've like worked to build up in Phase 4 and 5, if we like throw them in the trash and then focus on RDJ, and yeah, like honestly, like I feel like I don't care to see anyone other than RDJ in this movie, basically.
That's the
and
thing
maybe some
is-
X-Men, but yeah.
That's the thing though is that like I think this is in some ways it feels like maybe a little bit of an inversal from Endgame where like we have Secret Wars where everyone gets to do their cool thing. Like that's there. I think it's more about getting there that has to be good because I think Secret Wars is even if it's like a bad movie, it's going to be a lot harder to be a not fun movie that you don't enjoy. Like I think they're going to have to really work hard to make it not good in that sense, but
Yeah, and they can really like. There's a lot of minor characters now that like they can bring in. Okay, this is kind of like I don't know. Maybe they won't go too aggressive with it. Vin Diesel Von Doom, but but I think they have a lot of side characters from various movies that they could kill off with more impact now than like I don't know if they had thrown in. Just pulling out a random one, like if they had thrown in like She-Hulk into Doomsday as a side character to like kill off for effect. Like a lot of these characters have had shows.
Dude, if they kill Joaquin Torres in Doomsday, I will stand up and clap.
Yeah, yeah. If they kill somebody, I think that
you'd be the only one because
X-Men.
you'd be the only one who knows who he is. So
That's
yeah.
true. You're the only one who's feuding with him that much.
Because he took Jessica Alba.
But dude,
Taking
like if
Jessica Alba from me.
they killed off some of like the OG X-Men, well, like gave him their moment to shine. Like particularly, I think OG X-Men Cyclops, James Marsden. If they gave him like his moment to actually do something and they kill him off, like I think that would be pretty cool for a second time. 'Cause he died already.
He dies
Let
and
him
he drops.
to be my X-Men, and then he
He
dies.
dies and he drops like a pager that just shows like I don't know, it just has like Sonic's face on it.
No, Sonic. It has Sonic's face on it, and then it's like cut, and then it's the protagonist from Hop.
Yes. Bro, what you know about the Marsden verse?
Yeah, the James Marsden animated creature verse. It's the same character, except like he's actually in both movies he's clinically insane, and so they reset him after each one. Like they give him electroshock therapy that wipes his memories, and then they like give him a new backstory.
What I
Anyways,
wouldn't
digress.
give for a movie that like it's totally a drama that just focuses on James Marsden having to combat like these schizophrenic creatures he sees. I would I would see that in IMAX. I'd pay in the full.
It's like an A20. That would be an A24.
Yeah,
movie.
A24. James Marsden.
It's just called Marsden. It's like it's framed as a biopic, but then like halfway through, it's a switch up where he starts like hearing Ben Schwartz's Sonic voice in the walls.
Dang, cool. Any other thoughts on I don't know. Okay, Fantastic Four. One thing that I did want to say, Galactus when he comes down to Earth and then he turns and looks over his shoulder and sees the Statue of Liberty, I was like, that was kind of hype. That
Good
was all I was
shot.
gonna say.
I was a little I don't actually think this is a this movie thing, but during this movie, I did wonder, how big is Galactus? Because I feel like I never know, and I'm always a little confused. Because like, yeah, I know, it just
as big as he wants to be.
I hope he's bigger next time we see him.
Yeah, he was a little small.
Like, I want to see him pop a planet into his mouth in the next movie he shows up in.
I also think that's something that I'm curious to bring it up, because I remember the other day having the absolute epiphany. I was not completely unrelated to, I don't know what I was doing, but having the epiphany of like, wait, like he's still out there, and like if anything he's like more pissed this time. So like I'm very curious if they, assuming they don't just like nuke all of the other side universes in the immediate time, I'm very curious what they do with him now that he's like primed to be really angry. Yeah, I don't, but it left me with a different feeling. Like it left me with like a bit of dread of like, oh my, like no one is like actually safe. Like they have just bought a lot of time, and they make the comment in the movie like, oh, it'll take them like 1,000,000 years to get back here, but like
it's not taking that long.
I don't think so. Like not necessarily. I think there are probably other things bigger than them in the universe that could help them get places quick. So that was it was just interesting, and the reason I bring it up is because it did feel like when I look back on the ending, like the tone at which I think about it feels very different, of like a little bit more kind of like, oh, like that's kind of like there's like a bit of dread, which is cool. I totally dig it, but I don't know.
Well, and like I was a little correct. This is like a small thing too. Like, does Galactus normally have a ship, and does that ship usually do the eating? Because I could have sworn that he was just like this impossibly large guy that just floated through the universe, and would just actually eat planets. But like when the drill kind of came out, like you don't talk about when the drill came out, like the collapsing planet. I thought that was kind of, I don't know, like that was surprising to me. I think that I would have loved to see like his giant face, kind of like we saw the Celestial at the end of Eternals, like. Yeah, like I really think that the Prime kind of Galactus imagery, even though I did like him in this movie, the Prime Galactus imagery was in Eternals when we saw whatever that one Celestial's name is. But you see him like in the sky and stuff, and you see that scale.
That was cool.
And I really just I didn't get that quite from this one. I did think Galactus was cool. It definitely made cooler by Silver Surfer, but I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen more of that cosmic horror vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, there would have been some awesome visuals, but maybe that's for down the road.
Yeah, it did almost seem like if they were trying to save those kind of visuals for like him coming back a little bit stronger, like if they did intend to make a sequel, but I just can't see them making a Fantastic Four 2. Would that be a Fantastic 6 or a Fantastic 8? I don't know. But
Fantastic Four, Second Steps.
Yeah, second steps. But like I don't like if they were to do that down the road, I can't see them burning again if we only have a few movies with this cast, I can't see them burning a second movie on Galactus, like they would do something else.
It feels like though if they're bringing Galactus back, it needs to be for something bigger. That's
or
kind of what
Avengers movie.
That's
right?
like why I bring it up, because it does feel like I loved that he was in the movie. I think that was an awesome decision, and I am honestly like still a little surprised that they would make this movie with Galactus, but it's just like I feel like if he comes back, it's not like within the Fantastic Four's capability to destroy him without it either taking Franklin or like causing Reed to do bad stuff or whatever. Like it seems like it'd require more people. So
I think on that, it's like, if you make a Fantastic Four sequel, like, where do you go kind of with, like, the villain, right? Like, they blasted through, like, 6 villains in the montage, right? And, like, I think, I assume that Robert Downey Jr. is not going to be Doom for an extended period of time. Like, it seems like probably, like, he's going to do Doomsday, Secret Wars, and, like, he's like, all right, I'm done. I'm, like, 65 now, you know? And I think, like, in some sad way, we've had 3 Fantastic Four franchises, and, like, none of them have had, like, Doom versus Reed in a, like, meaningful way, you know? So I feel like it's hard to see what kind of, like, runway, like, a sequel would be, just, like, in terms of what villain they scale to. And I don't know, I think it's also kind of funny that, like, Shia LaBeouf is, like, halfway across the universe, and she's getting absolutely ripped to shreds right now. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
she's getting
every fiber of his being.
Yeah.
Rip Shia LaBeouf, which I thought Shia LaBeouf was super good, like that.
I think she'll be back.
Yeah, she had, like,
probably.
maybe, like, 5 minutes of screen time, but, like, I was, like, impactful and good.
It was good.
Yeah.
I thought that, like, there was that one, like, absolutely breathtaking shot of her and her, I'm assuming, daughter at, like, the on the coast with, like, the big ship coming down. Like, oh, man, that is, like, prime imagery. That was, like, so cool. But, yeah.
I also think, like, her conversation, like, up in space the second time when Johnny's like, oh, like, take me instead. And she's like, nah, like, it's not your sacrifice to make. And if he was older, like, the boy would make it himself, too, just like I did. And I thought, like, I don't know, that, like, 20-second exchange, I was like, that is, like, interesting to, like, think about, like, the idea of, like, children, like, who cannot make decisions for their own, like, we make them for them, even if it, like, wouldn't be what they would choose if they were older. And, like, seeing that level of sacrifice as someone who has, like, done the sacrifice before, like, I don't know, I was just like, man, like, it felt like there's, like, a lot of interesting, like, experiences that, like, Shia LaBeouf had in contrast to, like, where, like, she was like, I have been where you have been. And, like, I like that, like, dynamic a lot, because, like, she was, like, hopeless, and, yeah, I don't know, I just found it really intriguing in, like, those 20 seconds we had. Any other thoughts? Sue pushing Galactus into the thing was kind of mid, but whatever.
Yeah, true.
I thought it was
Yeah.
pretty cool. I just feel like it wasn't foreshadowed in such a way that, like, it was meaningful. But I like the idea of that happening. I think there needed to be something that came before it to make it that cool.
She hadn't charged up her Marvel Rivals yet.
I know. I'm just glad she didn't start bleeding from her nose when she fell over. I would have gotten really upset, to be honest with you. I probably would have walked out if she, like, put her hand out, screamed, started bleeding from her nose, and then fell over. Would have been, I don't know, man.
Would you guys have wanted Sue to die in this movie?
No.
I would have been okay with it.
I was very emotionally moved when that happened, because I was like, actually, I had no idea what was going on. Like, I didn't know if she was.
Do you actually think she died? And that she wasn't going to come back?
I thought there was a chance. Like, I figured there was probably going to be a way to get it, but I was like, holy cow, like, that would be crazy. Like,
I heard rumors that she was going to
one
die,
Fantastic
so.
Four movie with her, I think would have felt really sad, but I don't know. I liked how it ended. I thought it ended really well, but
I think especially because, like, they played that beat and they held it for so long that I was like, there's no way, like, I was like, man, this is, like, a good, like, 2.5 minutes of her being dead. Like, I remember, like, when she, like does the final blast and she knocks back in her head, like, goes, like, whiplash. Like, in my head, I was like, oh, like, seems like you would die from that. And then, like, she's, like,
some
out here,
Gwen
like,
Stacy
cold. I was
whiplash.
Like, yo. No, like, legitimately, I was like, yo, that's, like, I think it'd be cool if she died, but of course, you know, Franklin got a Franklin. And, like, I was emotionally moved until I saw, like, a floating JPEG in the Thing's arms being passed to Pedro Pascal.
Oh
my
my gosh.
This baby is not real. I was like, this is, like, my goodness.
The CGI baby, like, I don't know if you guys know
about how
about
good the Thing was. If you imagine a real thing with a fake baby.
Well, just, like, do you guys know about
That's true.
Do you guys know about, like, the Twilight CGI baby thing?
That was worse.
Well, no, but the fact that they did it again, you know? Like, say what you will about baby Joey from Superman, my beloved, but, like, he looked more real than this freaking baby.
Yeah, but they also did a good job of making him cartoonish just enough that, like...
It's also like an alien. So
yeah, like, he didn't have to be like a human. But
Oh, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I this was just bad.
yeah.
No, this was bad.
I do think like two things maybe killed emotional moments for me in the movie. It's like editing and like that dumb baby. Like, oh my goodness, that baby was ugly as heck. But yeah, the score by Michael Giacchino was really good. Was fire.
Oh,
I've been listening to that and I'm like, oh, it's great. It's great.
It is good.
Fantastic score.
We didn't compare it to
Anyways.
Superman, which Joey requested.
Oh, okay, Joey, hit us with some Superman thoughts since you just rewatched Superman.
Okay.
Get some comparison thoughts.
So
I have some thoughts as well.
So context, I thought Superman was kind of mid. Like, I love the characters, but I thought the plot was really dumb. Upon second viewing, I think this is a super rewatchable movie, and I actually think it's pretty peak. But Matthew disagrees clearly from the expression on his face. But I had a really fun time watching it a second time, and I originally said that Fantastic Four was better than Superman. I actually pretty wholeheartedly disagree. I still like them both, but I think Superman is a more cohesive movie. I can tell that they made what they set out to make. Even if it is like a little bit overstuffed, I think Fantastic Four is much more uneven than Superman is. And I think the thing that sticks out to me the most is Superman, in the same way that I think we were talking about the Fantastic Four giving us characters that we'd like to see down the road. I think, like, I am beyond excited to see every single character from Superman back in, like, another project. Like genuinely, like, all of them were fantastic, arguably, like, the best interpretations of those roles. And I think that was all done while having, like, a really, really great arc for almost all of them. And
Yeah.
bro, Matthew does not agree.
No shot.
And
Anyways.
on top of that, I also do think that some of the moments in Superman are like there's certainly like high highs and some low lows, but I think that Superman's high highs like soar, and that's coming from someone who, like, I didn't grow up watching Marvel movies, even though I think I've historically been a Marvel fan for longer. Like, I grew up watching particularly like Superman Returns, which is seen as like the bad Superman movie, or like one of the bad ones, with Brandon Routh. And there's like, upon watching it a second time and like having my expectations aligned more, like, it just brought back like this like feeling, this vibe that I think it just resonated with me a lot, like being something that I used to watch a lot as a kid. Everything from like the music. I think this is kind of controversial. I do think maybe holistically, I don't know, I do think a lot of the Superman score is better than the Fantastic Four score.
What?
And particularly like the themes.
Hey, Galactus, eat us now.
Like and the way that it's utilized in these like really awesome Superman moments. But yeah, so I think the thing that I wanted to compare the most, which I think we already kind of covered, was the way that they did the origin story. I do maintain a criticism of Superman that I would have liked to see like at least like a little montage or something that covered like the prior aspects of the movie before the crawl. But I think upon watching it a second time, it didn't affect me as much, and I was able to like watch the movie for what it was. And I was like holistic. Like, I walked out of the movie the first time also thinking like Lois and Clark didn't get a lot of time together, but upon the second watch, like, I did not feel that way at all. So I think it was just like, it felt more overstuffed on the first watch, but like going back, it felt like there was more room to breathe, which I think is natural. I don't think that makes it a better movie, because you should get it on the first time. But I will say that I think I enjoy Superman more.
Wow.
He's gonna blow
Does
me
anyone
away
else want to
right
go
now.
before I
He's gonna beat
scream
me
a
to
lot?
death. Yeah.
Go for it. Let him hear it.
Okay. I kind of like agree mostly with like the text of what you said, but I come to like different conclusions.
Only the text.
Okay, basically, I agree. I think Superman has higher highs than Fantastic Four. I think it has some insanely low lows. Um, I think, okay, out of like all the main characters, I think I like Lois the best for half of the movie. The first half of the movie, I think Lois is amazing. And then once Superman leaves her and she starts flying ships, I'm like, what is going on here? She's just kind of NPC right here. Anyways, I think, okay, in terms of, I think Superman has a character arc, which like no one in the Fantastic Four has. But I think Superman's character arc is like one of the most frustrating things for me because I think James Gunn wrote two like very nuanced, interesting. What is going on with my screen? There's balloons here. Anyways, I think Superman has two super interesting, nuanced like character arcs that are set up but are completely abandoned, and James Gunn chooses the most boring, basic superhero character arc for him instead. Like Superman ends up with like your choices and your actions are the things that make you who you are, so you're good, so just be good, which is like cool and whatever, like that's fine, like it's more than Fantastic Four had, right? But I think James Gunn set up the idea of like what does Superman do in a war, in a foreign war. Like he sets up that conflict, he like creates this like foreign war thing where an American dude like intervenes. He created that. He wrote like a check that he could not cash in any shape or form. And I think like a lot of what like was talked about in this take of Superman, it's like, oh, it's modern day Superman, like, you know, like the world really needs hope right now, and like Superman in this like complex, difficult, nuanced world, like we're gonna see that hope really prevails and stuff. And like what happens, like these like brown kids in this random like country like are like Superman, 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 and what do? Some random American group comes in and says, you know what, I'm gonna save you instead, and basically nothing changes. Still some foreign American like company backed by like super big billionaires goes in, intervenes, and it's good because the movie says so. The second one that I think is dropped is like the idea of like, ayo, like basically Clark's, or not Clark, because Clark doesn't exist in this movie, it's only Superman. Superman's like guiding moral compass, like his parents Jor-El and like whatever the woman from Krypton's name, like they've been his like kind of like striving standard for his entire life. And when that gets ripped away from him, I think that's like a really interesting thing of like, oh, like who do I choose to be? Like what does my identity and my whole like moral compass, like how does that stand on? Like the movie did not have a single moment to like explore anything that did to like his internal thoughts or his psyche or anything like that. They use it only for like a plot point to like further stuff. And I'm like, yo, James Gunn, you had two amazing character arcs that were set up perfectly, and you decided to go with, oh, because you do good things, you are good, Superman. That's an oversimplification of my much longer TED Talk. Anyways, go for it, Joseph.
Okay, I don't want to get too in the weeds because this is a Fantastic Four review. But I think on your first point, that initially did frustrate me. But if I had to guess, right? Like this part of the DC universe is called Gods and Monsters, and it kind of ends with the question posed to like Rick Flag Sr. He's like, it's like superheroes are now running the show, like what you do kind of doesn't matter, and he looks very like melancholic, concerned. And if I had to guess, it's not that this movie didn't cash that check, is I think that this is going to be like an ongoing plot point throughout future movies. Particularly like, I know that's frustrating. I know that is frustrating, and it is. But I think it's something that, again, if I had to guess, we can go back to this in a few years when we get there, but if I had to guess that this is going to be something that's like, this will be the inciting incident of something that'll be called back in like future movies up to like Justice League, where there's this like organization that is interfering in world affairs that is not like locked down to a nation, and what does that mean? And so I think I would imagine that is going to be kind of like the escalating plot of this Gods and Monsters thing, because it's like, how do we as modern people exist in a world where there are gods and monsters? So that's the first thing. So I know that's like an unsatisfying answer, but I do think that that's the intention behind it. Number two, I actually think that you're wrong. Though I do wish that they had made it a little bit more like on the nose. But I thought the whole point...
Yeah, it's very on the nose.
Well, the whole point of the message, and that being like a plot point, was that like Superman had the first half of his parents' message, and he interpreted everything that he was doing in light of like what he thought the second half would be. And the end of the movie, when he's watching like the montage of his parents and stuff, I think is like a capstone where like he took his first like born purpose from his real parents, but then filled in the rest with the actual like love and affection of his parents that he found on Earth, right? So he had this, it's not about like, oh, he disregarded it. It was about like he embraces that first half of what he believed his Kryptonian heritage to mean, while also embracing like the human side of himself, which came from his parents. And that was like, to me, I think it wasn't as on the nose the first time that I watched it, because I was kind of frustrated in the same way that you were with like his conversation with his dad. But like having watched it a second time, I was like, that was the thing that I gleaned from it was not that it's like, oh, your choices are what matter, even though that's like, I think the thing that was the most obvious from that conversation, but it's that like the people that raised Clark and had an impact on him were what drove him to kind of fill in that second half of the message. So it's almost like, it's like the nature versus nurture question, and it doesn't pick a side on that. It like is part of it, like it's equal parts. It's like this, you are a Kryptonian, you were sent here for a reason, you were sent here to make Earth a better place, even if their definition of a better place is flawed. But you didn't know what they meant. You just knew that you're here to make Earth a better place. So you interpreted that, and by you I mean Superman. Superman interpreted that in light of what it meant to be human. And I think that goes back to like his conversation with Lex, how he like during his final rage bait, and so I thought it was more cohesive the second time that I watched it.
I agree. I agree, but also don't again, because I think like those things are in there, but I think like that would make sense and would hit more if like his parents were in more than two scenes, and also we were shown the effect that their parenting had on him.
Oh, I agree. I agree 100%.
I think a lot of it is just like from our previous knowledge of like other Superman movies, and I think in comparison to Fantastic Four, since we're kind of talking about that or what that movie is, I think like if like that idea that you kind of talked about of like nature versus nurture, and like choosing like basically choosing the messages of what you've been taught from different people, like I think that is a good like arc and message and kind of final place to land on, right? And if like that's kind of like the main thing of Superman, and like the main chunk of Fantastic Four is like this morality of like sacrifice, and how we choose to like sacrifice for the world or like save the world. I think that like Fantastic Four, even though like they don't explore it with actions, they explore it with just a bunch of like conversations, and even if it's not super duper explored, like I think that's explored better than Superman, or just like given more time. Like I feel like because Superman is split between a bunch of different things, we got this war thing over here, we got like Superman being naive and like good Boy Scout boy, and then also like the parent thing. Like I feel like Fantastic Four is like very focused on like this is the one moral question that we're gonna ask, and maybe we're not gonna make like the most like best pro con arguments or whatever, but like we're gonna stick with it. And I think that like made it a little bit more cohesive in my mind. But yeah, I still think like they're like either is not great. Like I probably fall around like a 7 out of 10 for Fantastic Four, and like maybe a 6 out of 10 for Superman. So like I don't like I still think there's amazing highs to Superman, but those are kind of the thoughts. But there's no shot that Superman is better than Fantastic Four for steps. I cannot.
I think that I will agree to disagree, and the last thing that I will say about it is that I agree with you in that it would have benefited from the like him seeing more parents, and I think that's what like if there was some way that we could go back and have that part, like that aspect of the Fantastic Four, like how they did that opening with like contextualizing everything while not taking up too much time. If they just did that instead of, or like if they wanted to keep their cold open, they did it like while he was getting like he was getting sunbeamed without his solar mods. like if we if we did it that way, I think it would have immediately like fixed a lot of different problems. But but yeah, and the last thing, just to address the last part that you said about there being a lot of different themes. To me, I thought it resonated enough where I felt like it came together at the end, and I think that part of it, and maybe I just resonate with Superman more because I do like the whole like the hopeful nature of it, right? I think like there's a renaissance in that going on right now culturally, but I love how it is just unabashedly about like doing the right thing. I think that part of the overwhelming like just so many different like questions being raised in the middle of it is that and this kind of maybe does sound like a cope, but I think part of that is that like Superman has such a simple view of things that like these questions aren't answered because he's not even asking them. He's just going right through and doing the right thing. And whether or not that's satisfying is one thing. I feel like that is the intention behind a lot of it, is that like, and I think that's indicative of him and Lois's conversation, is that like he's literally just not thinking about it. Like he's just going off half-cocked doing whatever. And so I could see why all of those are criticisms, but I think after watching it a second time, I enjoyed it more and I understood it.
I do think that's interesting because I definitely fall more on the I definitely fall more on the Lois side of things, of like I question more things and I'm more pessimistic, and like I do think that's like to the credit of like that scene of like how good it is in the writing and how it like portrays each character of like
great
yo,
scene.
like if you fall on Superman's side more, you're gonna be like Superman was totally right and like Lois is being like a butthole right now, or like if you're on Lois's side, like you're gonna be like yo, Clark is an idiot, and I think like that was done very well. But I do still think I'm mad at James Gunn for creating two great starts and just being like, oh, oopsie daisies, I dropped them somewhere, don't know where they went. But yeah. Sorry, Joe, my bad. Go for it.
I think what I am really excited about is that I think it's cool to be in a summer where both a good DC movie and a good Marvel movie came out, because I don't really know the last time that's happened.
Superman and Thunderbolts.
I also think here summer. I also think like I struggle comparing them because I think inherently in my brain, usually when I think of superhero movies, I split them up between team-ups and solo films. So like Fantastic Four's gray area there, but that is like in general, that is how, like if someone asks me my favorite Marvel, what is happening? Brother. If someone asks me like my favorite Marvel movie, I will normally like split them up, right? Or it's like I wouldn't consider, like if I'm, you get the point. But I do think it's really special that two like movies that had, I think, really cool moral messages came out in the same summer that are both superhero movies, like, and very iconic and very, like, I think that's really special. And I also think it's really cool that both, like we had two movies that came out, like two superhero movies that came out, that both did, I think, really good jobs establishing worlds in a very economical time frame, right? Like, I think arguably James Gunn got a lot more mileage out of that, but like I think both were incredibly economical and, you know, in 2 hours setting up this world that I want to totally visit again. So I think it's cool that there's like two really good superhero movies that were both like, I think had really good, well thought out messages, and I thought they were both good and just had really cool characters. But I know that's like I because of how I kind of categorize things in my brain, that's more my perspective, but I think the only thing that's a shame is that arguably the world building approach to the characters meant that the best superhero movie of the year was in fact Thunderbolts, which was actually just a really good, like, really good characters, incredibly original, but I digress.
Mm-hmm. Matt, can we get an alternate...
Tyler,
we get an alternate cover of this where it's me as Superman and you as Lex Luthor? And you're like rage baiting me.
Wait, can that please be the cover?
Like if you
I don't even want to.
If you do like an Instagram reel of like a clip from this section, like I think you should make that the cover of it. I think that would be really fun.
Let me start screaming 1A. 1A.
1A. 1A.
Yeah. Tyler, any other thoughts on the Superman Fantastic Four comparison?
I like both movies.
Boo.
Lol.
Anyways. All right. Well, I don't know. I don't have any other thoughts. You guys? Guys? Ooh.
I'm good.
Cool. Well, thank you boys for hopping on and talking about some. Okay, on the scale of mid-tastic to fantastic, where is this movie? Final thoughts.
Closer to mid-tastic, but it's like in the middle, I think.
I don't know how to interpret the scale, but I liked it a lot. I think it was like I walked out of it and thought it was terrific, and I still think like
Wrong movie, bro.
walking out.
Superman.
I feel like I walked out of both with really high views, but yeah, I think I was actually no, I think I was with Superman. I walked out and was like, this is a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. With Fantastic Four, just because I was so unsure of what it was gonna be, when I walked out, I was like, wow, that was like way more impactful and way better than I thought. So I think the viewing experience was like pretty fantastic, but the movie as a whole, I think, is good. Like, yeah. But the actual viewing experience, I thought, like, I totally worked for me.
I put it between mid-tastic and fantastic. It was solid.
Yeah, I feel like as time has gone on, maybe become more mid-tastic to me than fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think like I just have like some great personal bias there of just like I like the Fantastic Four and like I just like families. That sounds weird. I like family like movies or I don't know, movies with family dynamics in them. But yeah, I think like watching it in IMAX first was definitely like it made it nicer and better and just like cooler to watch, especially that space scene. But yeah, thanks for joining, boys. And yeah, Mid-tastic Four, first steps. But yeah, until next time, bye.
Fight on.
Flame on. It's
What are your guys'
cooperating.
thoughts on in a couple years there being a like a No Way Home style Fantastic Four movie where they bring back
That'd be
both
cool.
other Fantastic Four casts?
I think the
And John
two.
Krasinski.
Well, so I think
Yes.
the OG one
As a
from like
ribbon.
the early 2000s. This one versus Miles Teller as the Maker, guys.
Dude, yes please.
That would be kind of
I'm a
elite,
chef.
kind of elite casting.
I'm a chef.
Okay, yeah, Kevin Feige, sign in.